Good. Good afternoon. I'm joined today by Lieutenant Governor Caldwell, Acting Chair and Chief Administrator of the Motor Vehicle Commission, Rosalie Johnson. When I came into office 6 months ago, I promised New Jerseyans that my administration would be different. We'd be open, we'd be direct, and we'd have a culture of accountability in this state. In keeping with my commitment, we are here to share information I learned of a few days ago. In June of 2023, nearly 3 years before I became governor, a serious software error in New Jersey's motor vehicle system led to the improper voter registration of what we believe to be roughly 6,600 people in our state. When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway. The error in the software was corrected a year later in June of 2024. That is more than 2 years ago. I learned of this last Wednesday, and I immediately ordered my chief counsel to launch a comprehensive investigation. Currently, the Division of Elections is working to ensure anyone who is illegally registered is removed from the voter rolls. Initial analysis shows that fewer than 400 newly registered individuals voted in an election due to this software error. They were registered as Democrats, Republicans, and the majority unaffiliated, and were scattered across the state. But let me be clear. This entire situation is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that the vendor released software with such a glaring error. It's unacceptable that the MVC took a year to get this issue fixed. And it's unacceptable that no one in the previous administration brought this to light, demanded accountability, or took action when it happened years ago. For too long, the Trenton playbook has been to avoid tackling and solving tough problems. New Jersey's better than that, and I am working to create a different culture, one where we are both effective and transparent. This failure didn't occur under my watch, but accountability starts now, because the people of New Jersey shouldn't have to wait a year for a problem to get solved, or 2 years to learn it even happened. I'm taking immediate action to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. Administrator Johnson has already started the process to replace the vendor behind the error. We're sending letters to the people impacted by this error, and we will remove anyone from the voter rolls who may have improperly registered. And my team is taking a hard look at the process failures that occurred under the previous administration and the guardrails we can put down for the future. On day one, I appointed our state's first ever chief operating officer to take on the bureaucracy and brokenness within state government. She and her team are focused on fixing the fundamentals so it doesn't take a year to find a software error and fix it, because New Jerseyans deserve accountable government. I know how important public service is, and I've worked to serve this country most of my life. I've taken several oaths to support and defend our Constitution as a Navy pilot, a federal prosecutor, and an elected official. Election integrity is core to that oath. It's my duty as governor to make sure our elections are free, fair, and secure. In the months ahead, I'll keep working with our election officials, local, county, and state to do just that. As the Trump administration tries to weaponize elections for political gain, I am ensuring that we protect our elections. Let me be clear. Donald Trump has zero credibility on the issue of election integrity. For the past 10 years, he's cried wolf and peddled bizarre conspiracy theories about fraud with no evidence. I saw the consequences of Trump's lies on January 6th. I was in the Capitol when he and his followers tried to steal the election and put the lives of hundreds of members of our law enforcement at risk. Trump could care less about the actual integrity of the process. His only concern is himself. Right now, his administration is defunding federal election security programs, while his hand-picked Supreme Court threatens voting rights at every turn. He spent the past year redrawing the map to win his party more seats in Congress, all while pushing the biggest voter suppression bill in history. The difference between my administration and this White House is stark. We don't deflect, deny, or exploit problems for our own gain. We find them and we fix them, because that's what a good, accountable government should do. And we will keep working every single day to make sure every eligible citizen can vote, every lawful vote is counted, and every step possible is taken to safeguard our elections. With that, I'll hand things over to our state's top election official, Lieutenant Governor Caldwell. Oops, thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I'll leave it to MVC Administrator Johnson, whom you'll hear from in a moment, to provide more information. But I want to speak to New Jersey's efforts to protect election integrity. My responsibility is to ensure New Jersey's elections are conducted fairly, freely, and with integrity, so the people of New Jersey remain confident in the democratic process. We've just recently learned some people in the previous administration failed to protect that responsibility. We can't change that, but it's on us to understand what went wrong and fix it for the future. We're actively working to ensure that no ineligible voters are left on the rolls. The focus of this administration has always been ardently protecting and defending New Jersey's elections and the eligible voters participating in them. As Secretary of State, I remain in close contact with county and local election officials as we continue to prepare for the 2026 general election. Here in New Jersey, we will make sure that every eligible voter can cast a ballot, and only eligible voters. We will safeguard your votes, and we will maintain your confidence. We will keep the public updated as we learn more, and will remain dedicated to operating transparently. That's what New Jersey voters deserve. With that, I'll hand this over to my colleague, MVC Chair and Chief Administrator, Rosalie Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor Sherrill and Lieutenant Governor Caldwell. As the governor said earlier, our entire administration takes this issue extremely seriously. The failure to be transparent in 2024 is simply unacceptable. I don't need to tell any of you that MVC has experienced deficiencies in previous years, long wait times, endless bureaucracy. When I was appointed, we promised to reform and modernize the MVC. We have already worked to implement changes to improve the MVC experience for all New Jersey residents. We have been able to substantially reduce the Real ID appointment backlog, made thousands of Real ID transactions one visit instead of two, and increased the usage of self-service online for New Jersey residents. But that's not what we're here about today. In regards to the system error MVC experienced in 23 and 24, we are actively working with a new vendor to ensure this type of technical malfunction does not happen in the future, and expect to launch with the new vendor next year. In addition, I am working today to create additional safeguards that will be reviewing this data that we send over to Division of Elections on a regular basis to check for any system errors. In my role as administrator, I will be doing everything in my power to ensure that this simply does not happen. I know that MVC has work to do to rebuild trust. I know that we need to restore New Jerseyans' faith in our operations and demonstrate continuous improvement. In my first 6 months, we have worked to improve our safeguards, modernize our operations, and create a 21st century experience for all New Jerseyans whenever they interact with the MVC. That effort is ongoing, and this is a reminder of what myself and my team are focused on, which is making positive changes and creating an MVC that is resilient and capable of delivering services securely and efficiently for the people in New Jersey. Ensuring that registration to vote is efficient and secure is an essential part of that effort, and under my leadership, MVC will be laser focused on that goal. Thank you all for being here today, and I think we're going to take a few questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Which elections did this include? Was it presidential in 2024 that involved your election?
This happened it started in 2023, it was cut and stopped in 2024. However, we are now actively working to remove those less than 400 voters from the rolls, so potentially this could have occurred, they could have occurred in any election since the time they were registered.
So do you have like specific numbers or like which elections, which of those 400 voted in?
We've launched an investigation. We should have more information.
Governor, will the outcome of that investigation be public?
I will be presenting the findings of that investigation.
Did any of those 400 voters sway the impact of any individual election, especially on the local level?
We have no evidence at this time that any elections were swayed.
Governor, can I ask about the allegation from Homeland Security is that New Jersey has about 35,000 non-citizens on the voter rolls. What about the remaining 29,000? Can you give us any indication of whether you've researched that or whether that's a hooked up number or are you investigating it currently?
These two things seem to be unrelated. So last Wednesday was when I first heard about this. I immediately launched an investigation, and this is what we've uncovered so far, and the investigation continues. We received a letter after Trump's speech that there were this 35,000 from DHS potentially. So we have asked them for any evidence of this, where they got that number, who this is. We've received nothing back yet.
Do you feel that that is part of a plan to set the stage for accusations of voter fraud here in New Jersey, maybe even in the 7th district?
I think that Donald Trump has done more to undermine free elections in this country than certainly anyone in my lifetime, including Vladimir Putin. So certainly this is ongoing. He has called into question the 2020 election, which, let's recall, his administration ran and had every tool available to the federal government to run well. I guess they did not, according to him. He then, when we were certifying the election, sent an insurrection over to stop the certification of the election. He has defunded at every turn agencies that are responsible for protecting our election, and he continues to put out misinformation. So do I think that the latest round that he has put out is in some way an attempt to undermine our elections in this country? Yes, I do.
Including the accusation about New Jersey.
I think he has ongoing misinformation that he puts out. He knows that if he provides us any credible information, we will, of course, investigate it as we do with every piece of information that we have.
Governor, you said you'll be looking at additional guardrails. What are you open to considering for new guardrails, and could that include any additional requirements on voters when they show up at their polling places?
I think we're open to suggestions that make our elections more safe. And so that's part of what this investigation, they'll have findings on just what occurred. And we will be looking carefully at what we can do to make sure it doesn't occur again. So as of now, we are launching an investigation. I will be holding people accountable. We are here today because this will be transparent. We will be presenting our findings. That's why I'm holding a press conference, so that we're not hiding this. We are going to be very accountable about it. We've already alerted or working to alert, actually that letter will be going out shortly, to alert people that they might be improperly registered, and then we are working to remove them from the voter rolls. And then as far as the systems and guardrails, already we've been looking at how we can continue to provide the most secure election possible. Our Innovation Authority is providing the PIN pad, and they will be providing it in 5 different languages. Now it's only in English to make sure there's no confusion. So we will be looking at different possibilities of making our elections more secure going forward.
It sounded like there was an issue with the PIN pad, though, because they answered no.
In this case, no, you're correct. You're correct, but we want to keep making sure that nobody has trouble registering or there are any inaccuracies.
Governor, do you think that New Jersey needs to revisit any of its laws, for example, that allow for automatic voter registration at the Motor Vehicles Commission, or even allowing driver's licenses to certain immigrants? Do you think that's something that needs to be revisited as a part of this, or do you view
I see no reason why our state cannot run an election system well and have a computer program that can operate well. And should any problem occur, it should be caught quickly. This is just, to me, not a problem with some of our laws. It's a problem with accountability. It's a problem with making sure government is effective and running well, and it is really a lack of responsibility.
But what are the agencies that are involved in the investigation? When do you expect them to be done? And what are you looking for? Do you think that there were any criminal offenses here?
We have hired an independent firm, CSG, to conduct this investigation. We have asked them to do so with all possible haste, and they've been already working to some of the numbers I told you today, the 6,600, the less than 400. These are some of the things they've quickly gotten together so that we had an understanding of the scope here and what we were dealing with. But we want to make sure that all ineligible voters are off the rolls before our next election. So we've asked them to move very quickly. We don't have a timetable. I don't want to sacrifice getting to the bottom of this for any sort of artificial timeline, but they will be moving very quickly.
Are you looking for any financial compensation from November?
We haven't considered that yet. This is, like I said, I found out about this Wednesday, but certainly all options are on the table.
So, Governor, one weather-related question. Severe storms moving through the area in this afternoon into tonight, potential for hail, tornadoes, flooding. Are there any specific preparations the state is taking this afternoon, any particular areas of the state that you need?
We've been on high alert due to all of the weather issues that we have had over the last several days. JCP&L had called in different mutual aid workers to make sure that they were ready to repair any power losses that we experienced. Right now, people should be very careful. We anticipate there will be a heavy rain advisory across the state, flash flooding possible mostly in the north, and as you mentioned, some possibilities of tornado and hail. I would just encourage everyone to remember with this type of weather, trees become very dangerous. You should just be very, very careful as you see some of this to make sure you are protected in a safe area and never drive into any sort of water or flash flood zone.
Governor, you're promising accountability for this. To you, what does accountability look like?
Well, it starts here. It starts with being very transparent so that people know what's going on and know that they can expect us to get to the bottom of it. It also, should there be anyone that is identified that is still working in this space that has not done the right thing, I will hold them personally accountable for this because, listen, here's the thing. I have said this over and over and over again, and I believe it to my core. Public service is a privilege, and it is a responsibility because when you don't act in the way you are hired to act, then people can get harmed. And right now, in an administration that have proven themselves all too willing to target vulnerable communities, including our immigrant community, we now have certain people that through no fault of their own have been registered to vote. It may imperil their immigration status. It may imperil different things. We are working very hard to protect them. But that is the responsibility of the people that worked for the MVC that knew that this was going on and did nothing to remedy it. That's wrong.
Are there any concerns that it sounds like you're not going to charge, the state is not going to charge these non-citizen voters with voting? Is there any concern that the feds might, I don't know, in terms of criminal charges?
It would be really the utmost in hypocrisy for the state to charge them when it's our fault. However, I would not put it past the federal government, so we are working very hard on ways in which we can protect people here in the state of New Jersey.
In terms of protecting them, does that mean that you won't release their information to the feds or anyone else if it's requested?
We are not in the practice of releasing personally identifying information to the federal government right now, given that the Trump administration continues to weaponize it against people.
What was the vendor in question? Yeah, what was the vendor in question that did this, and who's the vendor that's replacing them?
So the vendor in question was IDEMIA, and we are transitioning into Talus, who's a proven vendor with great record of high integrity on their data and their systems.
Are there any concerns that IDEMIA got anything else wrong?
I don't want to get ahead of an investigation. That will come out in that if there is anything else.
How long has the city had IDEA?
I got one more. This is DHS related, but the mayor, I believe he's Mayor of Roxbury, suggested that the Trump administration reverse course on the Roxbury detention facility because you celebrated the victory of their first decision to pull the plug on this. Can you?
Charlie, can I clarify that that wasn't the mayor, that was the
Right, he's a Republican, I'm sorry.
that was a council member.
Council member, he's also the Republican chairman. Did you, I mean, they're basically accusing you of causing them to pull the plug on.
Because I reported that we won in court. So somehow that gives Trump full license to walk back a very bad decision. Look, here's the thing, Charlie. They overpaid under no. They lost in court, and they have egg on their face. Because as I've said before, when you make stupid decisions, you often lose in court. And so at this point, I cannot help them other than to say they should just move on. The court has said that they cannot build there, so they can reverse course and keep fighting in court. I believe we will keep winning in court because they should not be building a mass human detention facility of 2,000 people in a warehouse with only 2 bathrooms, the sewering system that can't handle it, and the road system that can't handle it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.